The man is just an animal. He just kept coming and coming and coming. Nigel Benn is a phenomenal puncher. Do you remember those days? Do you remember those days of Chris Eubank? Chris Eubank being unbeaten, doing his world tour, and then it all coming to a horrible end against Steve Collins. Steve Collins played the mind games, completely outthought Chris Eubank, made Chris Eubank think he was seeing a hypnotherapist, and in return lied about it and just chased Eubank all the ring round the ring for 12 rounds. Eubank Jr. hasn't been so fortunate, and as we know, lost his last fight to Billy Joe Saunders. That's the first time he stepped up and fought decent opposition. Let it be noted that Eubank didn't start fighting until after 6 rounds. So, based on that knowledge, people say, well, Eubank now knows he can do 12 rounds. No, he knows he can do 6 hard rounds. We still don't know if Chris Eubank can do 12 hard rounds. And let's remember, this fight he goes into now for the WBA interim title at middleweight is against the unbeaten Dimitry Chudinov. Dimitry Chudinov hasn't been beaten, and he's got a good work rate, and in his last fight scored a knockout. Now, Chris Eubank isn't as elusive as you think. He is easy to hit, and he does make a lot of fundamental mistakes, much like his father. When his father was never a great come forward fighter, he was always a good counter puncher. So we don't know whether Chris Eubank Jr. can actually do 12 rounds, 12 hard rounds. We know Chudinov can. We know Chudinov has beaten unbeaten fighters. Take the Patrick Nielsen fight. So he knows what it's like to fight abroad. He also knows what it's like to fight and be against a fellow unbeaten fighter. Okay? Thing about fighting another fellow unbeaten fighter is that they come to win. Chudinov is still unbeaten. Yes, he's had the draws against Patrick Mendy, but he still hasn't lost, and Chudinov has actually improved as a fighter. Now, I don't know why you would go down the WBA route. There are many good fights that Chris Eubank could be having, Jr. could be having now. Spike O'Sullivan, who you all know I did an interview with, the Irish fighter, based in Dublin. I should know, bloody hell, I'm living in Ireland now. But yeah, he's called out Chris Eubank Jr. on a number of occasions, and he even said himself it would be a great fight in the interview. It'd be a great fight because you'd be able to have the fight in Ireland, maybe in Dublin, and it would sell a lot of tickets, and then you'd have the whole Eubank versus another Irishman, this time being O'Sullivan, trying to do the role of Steve Collins and trying to revisit the whole thing again. And maybe Eubank could come to Ireland and get revenge. Now, I'm not sold on the fact that Eubank is good enough to beat GGG. No, I'm not sold on that point. I'm also not convinced on the setup with Chris Eubank Sr. He is still doing the things that he's doing, i.e. trying to be in the limelight, and I'm now convinced, this is a judgment call, I'm now convinced that Chris Eubank Sr. is prepared to live his life through Chris Eubank Jr. Will those fundamental changes be made? I don't think so. I don't think Chris Eubank's going to improve. Not with Chris Eubank Sr. managing him. I really don't. And I'd like to ask another question. Would Frank Warren have gone down this route with the WBA? Is it Frank Warren that has agreed this? Or is it Chris Eubank Sr. that's insisted this? Because they want, or he wants, to be in the limelight. He wants to say, well, you know what? We may have lost the British Commonwealth and European Championship, but guess what? We are now the interim WBA titleist. So we can walk around and say, well, we are a world champion. you know. But the drawback on that is you then have to fight guys like Danny Jacobs and GGG, and you're already at that mix and that level, and you ain't ready for it yet. Let's remember, Chris Eubank didn't have an extensive amateur background, so he's not like a Lomachenko, or he's had a long amateur background. He hasn't, so he's actually learning on the job. And if there's anything to go by, if we go back to the Eubank fight with Saunders, we have to draw back to that fight because that's the first time he stepped up to world level. When he was in the heat of battle, his father stood there and watched Billy Joe Saunders outbox him for 6 rounds, and then when Eubank, when Ronnie Davis basically was turning around and telling Eubank, you've got to get out and stop him, he turns and tells his trainer basically to shut up. So if he's got that sort of arrogance about him, which clearly he has, and that's rubbed off from his dad, that's got to be a barrier for learning. And I don't think we're going to see that much improvement in Chris Eubank. I really don't. Could he beat Chudinov? Yes, that's how it looks like. Everyone expects him to win the fight. He looks bigger than Chudinov, but that doesn't mean anything. Is he a fearsome puncher? No, Chris Eubank Jr. is not a huge puncher. I think he's a decent puncher. But I just think Chudinov's going to put it on Eubank for 12 rounds. Win, lose, or draw, Chudinov is going to put it out there and put it on Chris Eubank Jr. Chudinov, for me, is technically, everyone says, oh, Chudinov's a limited fighter. Well, then what's Chris Eubank Jr.? I wouldn't say Chris Eubank Jr. was. What makes him so special? He's got an uppercut. Yes, he does things that Eubank Sr. did, but Eubank Sr. was a heavy puncher, had a tremendous chin. He didn't have a great work rate, but he had a fantastic left jab. He controlled fights with that left jab. Eubank Jr. doesn't have that same sort of left jab. And the caliber of opponents that Eubank Sr. was fighting is not necessarily the same caliber of opponents that Jr. has been fighting. And let me just add that Sr. fought for the world title, but he was much more better prepared, having fought in America and experience in America before he fought Nigel Benn. So he was better prepared. This is Eubank Sr.'s first crack at management, and unfortunately his son is going to be the brunt of his mistakes in management. Whilst Frank Warren may or may not have a great relationship with Chris Eubank Sr., there's one thing that's undisputed. Frank Warren is far the better manager than Chris Eubank Sr. in terms of experience. Contracts, I don't know about, I don't wish to know about, because that's none of my business. But in terms of producing world champions, in terms of steering fighters into getting home advantage, all that sort of stuff, you've got to look at Frank Warren. Taking guys into world title fights and giving them as much chance as possible to win that world title, you've got to look at Frank Warren. Frank Warren's your man. I think Frank Warren still is your man. But whatever beef Chris Eubank Sr.'s got with the boxing world, and I'm sure he's got some beef, and he wants to manage his son in a way that avoids all the stuff that he may have had to go through, that's fine. But his son is going to be the guinea pig for his mistakes. What sort of respect level does Chris Eubank Jr. have for Ronnie Davis? What sort of respect does Chris Eubank Sr. have for Ronnie Davis? What is the role within the Eubank Ronnie Davis scenario relation? What is that? What is that? I mean, respect at all times is something that, as a former boxer, I was always told to respect your trainer, to respect the sport. And if there's been any shortcuts in this training camp with Chris Eubank Jr., Chudinov will expose that. I'll tell you why. Because he tucks up tight. He's not like these bums that Eubank's been fighting before. This guy can box. This guy can fight a bit as well. And I don't think this is the walk in the park that everyone's talking about. Eubank is going to go out and knock him out. I don't believe so. I believe Chudinov's going to put on a serious test for Chris Eubank. And if Eubank has not got the fitness to go 12 rounds, if anyone will get stopped late, it could be him. You know, if Eubank tries to blast Chudinov out there in the first 6 rounds and he can't do that, then what happens? Nobody knows how good Chris Eubank Jr.'s chin is. Nobody knows. Nobody knows how much heart Chris Eubank Jr.'s got. Yes, we look at the Billy Joe Saunders fight, but Billy Joe Saunders himself isn't a guy that's going to stand. He's not there to stand and trade. He's there to hit and move, hit and move, hit and move. Yes, he had a bit of a tear up with Eubank, but Saunders is not a puncher. I don't know how much. I don't know if Chudinov hits any harder, but Chudinov, his whole constitution is to stand there with you and have a fight. You know, and there's no way he's going to travel all the way from Russia to come here to go and lie down for Chris Eubank Jr. I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a breaking of wheels one way or the other. Eubank is the one who is coming back off a defeat, and we don't know how that defeat will have dented his psyche. And that whole relationship, like I said, Eubank Senior in the corner with Ronnie Davis, Eubank Senior is not going to change. He hasn't changed his behavior from the last press conference to this press conference. So I can't really see whether their training is going to change from last press conference to this press conference. To be honest, I don't see it. I haven't seen the train or anything, but I don't think the attitude is going to change. I think somehow Eubank Senior believes that his son is better than he actually is. Reports from people that have watched him box as an amateur said he didn't do much as an amateur. He wasn't a great amateur, and as a pro, yes, he's got that uppercut, but he hasn't got that all-round professionalism and ring generalship. And I just feel that he's being promoted before his time. And I don't think if Eubank didn't take Chris Eubank Senior out of the equation, just take him out of the equation for a minute, Chris Eubank Jr. will just be another fairly ordinary fighter. Because what does he do spectacular? What is so spectacular about Chris Eubank Jr.? What does he do that's so spectacular? What did he do against Billy Joe Saunders that was so spectacular? He didn't do enough because Billy Joe Saunders beat him. He isn't the greatest tactician because the first 6 rounds he lost, and the second 6 rounds he tried chasing. So that means he would have got a draw. So even so, he would have had to knock Billy Joe Saunders out. So that was just a hope that he was going to knock Billy Joe Saunders out. So tactically, and secondly, he didn't have a clue how to fight the southpaw. So he was rushing in like I was having a street fight. And the only thing he made him look decent is because Billy Joe Saunders decided to stand there and have a fight with him instead of stepping off and boxing. And when Billy Joe Saunders was boxing, it was just you know, day and night. So I'm not convinced in Chris Eubank Jr. He may win this fight. He may not win this fight. I would only go Chudinov because of the fact that I think that he is more respectful of the sport, a hard worker, dedicated, and just respects his trainer, respects his management. I like to see that in a fight. I can't support what Eubank did in his corner to Ronnie Davis. I know Ronnie Davis personally. I am still offended by that. And yes, people will support Chris Eubank Jr. and think he's this and he's that. I don't. I think that in this sport, you've got to pay your dues. And I don't think Chris Eubank has paid his dues. I think Junior has been elevated because of his father. And if you look at his resume, the first time he fought somebody of any caliber, he got beat. And like I said, for the first 6 rounds, he was totally outpointed. So tactically inept. And if Chris Eubank Jr. Senior is the one in the corner giving the instructions, and you saw when Billy Joe Saunders was outboxing him, Eubank was given the instructions. If the same thing happens again and Chudinov's put it on Eubank Jr. early, how does he respond when he can't throw the uppercuts, when he hasn't got room to maneuver and do all those things, when his back is against the ropes all the time? I believe Eubank Jr. needs space and time to land those big punches. I'm not so sure whether Eubank Jr. can fight 12 rounds, 3 minutes of each round at intense pressure. I don't believe he can. And why, as people are saying Chudinov is limited, I believe that Chudinov can outwork Chris Eubank Jr. and maybe not knock him out, but stop him through exhaustion and just working like how Collins beat Eubank Sr. is the same way I believe somebody's going to beat Eubank Jr. Walk him down, and keep taking it to him, taking it to him, taking it to him, taking it to him. Don't give him time to think. Don't give him time to breathe. On him all the time. I don't believe if Chudinov kept doing that on and on for all the fight, and Eubank can't break him down, I believe Chudinov can win this fight via unanimous decision. I believe he can do that. Whether, again, it's about game plans. What game plan Chudinov's going to come into the ring with, whether Chudinov is actually going to be able to take the power, whether if Chudinov can take the power and he can close Chris down, I give Chudinov to win the fight via points decision. If Eubank is able to stand off from poles and do the rubbish that he does, then possibly he may be able to stop Chudinov round 6 or 7. So for me, there are too many questions in this fight for me, and that's the way I see it. If Chudinov is able to do what he does, able to absorb the power, I'm going for a Chudinov win. Let's put it this way: Chudinov late, Eubank early. That's what I say. If Eubank early, Chudinov late, because I'm not sure that Eubank can do a full 12 rounds under pressure for 12 rounds. I don't think he can. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. I'm out.